It's out, by the way. If you want to pass it around, go for it. Thanks.
We're live.
Yep. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a quite late, but we are actually here for Around the Corner. Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience. First of all, this room's been open since like 7:45, and it's now 8:30, and you're still here. So thank you all very much for that. Your patience is well received and obviously very generous. And we have quite the star-studded lineup. We actually have 3 former winners on this show for the first time. We've had 3 former champions on the show, and it's kind of an America versus England versus Spain theme going on at the moment. So this should be a fun one as my repeat starts on my line. That's a bit stupid. Okay, so without further ado, let's introduce the panel for tonight's show. We'll start from the Spanish representation. Hopefully, he'll do better than their World Cup efforts. Making his 4th appearance, it's Tom Martinez. Okay, Tom97HD. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Hopefully, I can do well. Hopefully, with that 10-point advantage I got, hopefully I can maybe go for the win this time for once. And just for the record, I'm still English.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'll explain that 10-point bonus in a minute. But in the meantime, we'll move along. Representing America. He has made several appearances, former champion and minimalist. Mr. Ryan King is here. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Hopefully, I'll do just as well as the U.S. national team did in the World Cup.
Hey, way to go, America! The last 16, of course. Yeah, let's have a round of applause. Yeah, everyone's like my bitter brother in the background there, who's refusing to acknowledge the presence of America, and the fact that their soccer team has apparently surpassed us. Shut up, Ryan. In the meantime, representing Greenford. Unfortunately, this show was held up for half an hour because he was napping, but he isn't a pig, so we kind of like him for that. So, welcome the 2-time winner Aarav on the show, everybody.
All right, yeah, apologies, guys. Really do. Yeah, sorry if you've been waiting in the comments for Dre's live stream to start. Apologies. Overdid a nap. It was only meant to be 20 minutes. Ended up being a little over that.
A little. Okay, if you say so. And we have a very special final guest coming back from America. He has 1 appearance. He won that appearance. And I'm very honoured to have one of my favourite YouTube personalities on here from the Finish Line podcast. You probably know him as former Formula 1 YouTuber and general swell guy, Mr. AthleekVG in the house, everybody.
Hello, Jay. Thanks for having me back. I'm ready to defend the title and represent Team America and freedom.
Team America.
As Mad Racer in the chat points out, this is the ATC Ryder Cup, as America takes on the rest of the world. This could be a fun one. Obviously, I'm going to be the totally impartial referee. In the meantime, I just want to point out as well, before we get started, that you may have noticed on, I think it was the very first episode of Season 2 I started doing this show, I said, did anybody have any bold predictions? Somehow, someway, by being complete hipsters, both Tom Martinez and Aarav both predicted that Marussia would score points this season.
Yes, Tom.
And via some miracle, Jules Bianchi did indeed finish in 9th place at Monaco. And as promised, because I'm a man of my word, Team Europe is starting with a 10-point advantage over Team America, which I did promise that I would give 10 points to either player for correctly predicting Marussia's scoring points. God damn you, jammy bastards. Right. So, Team America, unfortunately you've got a bit of a handicap for the first time in the history of all things involving America.
Oh!
Hey, hi-oh!
Shots fired.
Okay. Any questions in the chat? Send them in now. Let's have a quick hi to the chat. Tiamat Marduk is here. He's woken up very early to watch us. Congratulations, Ben. Good to see you as always. Shame about your boy Ricardo for once, but bound to happen sometime. We've got Sean who's saying Aarav and the hipster swags. Aarav also said, my bad. I like that as well. Question from Tom Stanley. Tom Stanley's watching. I've got to say a big shout out to Mr. Tom Stanley, aka Mr. F1 Racing Man. He was about to step in for Aarav until he actually woke up from his nap somehow. So thanks to Tom, he was very willing to step in. I hope he's enjoying the show over Chinese, which I know he is. Also got Liverpool in there. We've got Sync Liquid in there. AH14 Piece, LMB. Good, all good to see you guys. And watching on Twitter as well, Mr. Ryan Littlemore. He's on holiday in Tenerife right now, and he's watching us. So thanks for your dedication and loyalty, Mr. Littlemore. And hopefully you don't screw somebody else up on this show today. Right, send in your questions, and we will get rolling. And I'm going to go with an interesting first. This has got the inches out there, out in the open, quite clear. It's a bit of a generic question, but I quite like it, so we'll go with it anyway. Why do you think Ferrari has been going backwards the last few years?
I don't want to answer, but I believe, is there Joker?
There is. You can play your Joker if you want.
I don't think, does Athleek know what a Joker is?
Yeah, Athleek. I forgot to explain to Athleek he's not showed up on Series 2, but there is a new rule where the Joker counts as double points. So if you like the sound of a question, and you feel your answer is good enough, you can play your Joker and you will score double for that question. You can only use it once. And if you don't use it, you have to use it on the last question. So, okay. Why is Ferrari going backwards? Anyone wants to play their Joker immediately? Silly question, of course not. Okay, who wants to go first? Again, tumbleweeds in the building. Okay. Brian, pick someone. He's sending American out to bat first.
It's to me right up.
Of course, the European would pick the United States to go first.
Of course. What did you expect? I think you're up, mate. Go for it.
I think it just stems from all of the corporate culture in Maranello, to be honest. I think the team takes a very traditional and conservative approach that stifles innovation and isn't very, I don't know, sustainable in the modern world of Formula One. I think maybe it worked in the past. I think, they were also riding off of a lot of success in the early 2000s, but that's gone, and I think that, Luca Di Montezemolo probably is not the best influence on the team, and I think he creates a work environment that doesn't produce a lot of quality results. So I think, hiring a new team principal, Marco Mattiacci, that might do something, but I don't see much happening anytime soon.
All right, we'll go to Team Europe. We'll go to Aarav here in the corner.
All right. Well, obviously this year the cars have been quite decided by the engines, and I think we were expecting Ferrari to do well, but surprisingly they haven't been. I think that might be just due to the fact they might be a bit too invested in their road cars, like McLaren, or sort of maybe having having the road car section so close to the motorsport section in terms of the buildings and everything like that and personnel, maybe hampering them. Maybe I know it's quite separate. They're quite separate sections, but just might be distracting the company as a whole. We're talking as Ferrari as a whole company, in just being good on the engine side of their motorsport section, and also talking from an aerodynamic standpoint. Yeah, like Athleek said, I'm gonna have to agree with him in terms of stifling innovation. You got to say Ferrari aren't ones to push the box. They sort of just wait and then be like, oh, Red Bull did that, Mercedes did that. Let's copy that and let's try and catch up. They're not one to be, very out there and kind of just stick an idea and see how it goes. And I think that's what James Allison one time said. I think it was an interview around Monaco time, saying we don't need more people. We've got talented people. We just need to get their mindset out that's been there for many years, that they have to play it safe and that we need to allow them a space to just push the box and go for random stuff. That may not work, but it could.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. King?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Aarav and Athleek, but the previous seasons, it was more an issue of Red Bull being able just be better than Ferrari. This season, it seems like they just haven't been able to. They just didn't bring in good enough engine to the show, because let's be honest here, Ferrari doesn't innovate, like they said. Ferrari doesn't push the box because they are the box. And if you look at their road cars, all their road cars are naturally aspirated either V8, V10, or V12 engines. They don't do turbos. They didn't do turbos until this new engine generation came out, and they didn't do hybrids until Kurz became involved in F1. Ferrari doesn't innovate.
Yep, interesting enough. And Tom?
Well, obviously, my question is, would the question ever be asked? Because, for example, in 2010, Alonso came so close to win the championship, and in 2012, he also came so close to winning the championship, and then also Massa in 2008 came a corner from winning the championship. So they have been there at times, just not consistently enough, and they haven't had that edge when it comes to race winning performance. Obviously, I was watching an interview about this the other day. It was Schumacher, and he was saying, the people that work for me when I had the championship winning car aren't the same people that are working there now. They're different people, different group of guys. A lot of them, when I was working, they've gone now, so obviously you've got to try and stop riding the coattails of past success. And you've got to try and look forward to the future. And just like most people, I think everyone here said, they've got to maybe try stuff, take risks like other teams do, try different things, see if they can maybe get an edge in performance or try and regain a bit of that winning edge that they once had time ago. But obviously, it's a different age, different time, and different day in Formula 1 nowadays compared to when they were in the zone, you could say. So.
Yep, I hear you on that. Okay, let's go to the chat real quick. Stuart Lawrence in the chat saying, "Please start doing YouTube vids again, Athleek."
I'm currently enjoying retirement, and don't see myself coming out of that anytime soon, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's nice to know you're still appreciated around these parts, I'm guessing. Also, great tweet from Ryan, who's watching at home. Ryan Littlemore going, "Looks like Aarav dresses like that to impress the ladies and talk about his thrustmaster wheel."
There's the real thrustmaster.
That's a bonus point for Athlete. Yep, that's hilarious. Johannes saying gutsies from the start for once. Good to have you, Johannes. Let's have a look. Gentleman asking kind of the same question. Okay, so I'm not going to take it seriously because Chilton and Bianchi are gods. Thoughts? I like that one. Let's have a quick look at the chat again still. Ooh, hello, Sean Smith. Okay, this one's just for jokes. You have an F1 team, but you can only pick two of them: Narain Kartikeyan, Jean-Denis Delatraz, and Taka Inoue. Who do you pick?
Oh dear God.
Can
I drive the car? Can I just drive the car myself?
Yeah, I mean, it can't be any worse, right? Okay, we'll go with Tom Stanley's question. Hope he's enjoying the show. The F1 Racing Mad goes, after Silverstone, it will hit the halfway point in the stage of the championship. Which driver has stood out to you the most in the first half of the season? So, run that one more time. After Silverstone, it will hit the halfway point in the championship. Which driver has stood out the most to you in the first half of the season? Any jokers? No. Okay. Ryan, who's going first? Aarav it is.
I've got to say, well, it's a tough one. For me, it's going to be a choice between either Daniel Ricciardo or Danny Kvyat. And that's for two very different reasons. I think, but I think for me, it's got to be Ricciardo. But I'm going to quickly say what Kvyat was in there. Kvyat was, it's impressed me because I thought he was just going to be, this, GP3 guy making too big of a jump, and looks like he's got maybe a bit of Russian money in there. Maybe he's come in because the Russian GP is going to debut this year. He's not going to be very good, and I was completely wrong. Come Australia, he completely, came out with a massive performance, and he's been coming back and just been there when the Toro Rosso car is good enough to pick up the points. But my main one is going to be Daniel Ricciardo because he's kind of faced all the questions that have been asked of it for him. You know, at the beginning of the season, we all were asking, you know, will he have the same sort of Mark Webber style relationship with Vettel? Will he be the kind of underdog to Vettel? Will he be able to handle Vettel? Could he live up to the challenge of, you know, the 4-time world champion? Will he crack under pressure? Is he actually any good, or have Red Bull made such a huge mistake? And he's answered all of it, and at the moment he's beating Seb. He's as confident as ever. He's got one more race win than Seb this season, and I think not being in that top car ever before means he just can go in there without any expectations, and he can just kind of thrive under the pressure of being a Red Bull driver, and he's doing really well, so that's why he's impressed me quite a lot. He's just answered every single question that keeps coming back at him.
Did you not see me tap the watch, Aarav?
No, I didn't.
Oh dear.
Yeah, the lower third got in the way.
He's just like this, like oh, it's blocked.
Did it get in the way? Okay, I'll let that one slide.
I'll keep on looking at your screen now when I'm answering.
Yeah, good idea. Athleek.
I have to go.
Yes.
All right. Okay. This is standout driver, right?
Yeah.
I really wish I could say Kimi on this one, but you know, I want to be original at the same time. You can.
They didn't say anything about being positive, so I guess if you want to go the other way, well, I wouldn't hold that against you.
Okay, standout driver. Oh, Pastor Maldonado was in the running for that as well. So yeah, just to be original, because Ricardo and Fiat and other drivers are very easy to choose. But I'm going to go with Kimi Räikkönen, who was still is my favorite driver, but he's been an incredible disappointment, and he just seems to just, you know, constantly be a headline about how he is still struggling with the car. So I'm extremely disappointed with him. He says that he's going to be retiring at the end of 2015, and I'm almost wondering if that's too long.
Wow.
He should just call it quits, because his attitude of not caring about the media and not caring about his reputation really comes off well when he's winning races and he's, you know, getting the most out of the car. That was classic. But when you're not getting those results, it just looks like you don't care and you don't deserve to be there. So yeah, I'm disappointed in Kimi. I think that he actually still has some skill left in him, but I'm not sure we're ever going to see that realized in a red car.
Yeah, fair enough. That's some great points made there. Tom?
Well, I'm torn between Nico Rosberg and Roman Grosjean. Obviously Rosberg in the sense because people think, can he hang with the almighty Lewis Hamilton? Now Hamilton's got a really good car, really able to match him in pace and try and challenge him for the championship. It's such a dominant car, and which I think he's done a really, really good job. Obviously he may have had a bit of luck in terms of Hamilton having a couple of retirements, and he hasn't retired once yet, but he has been able to manage his problems like he did in Canada, so he's proved that he can properly drive a race and do really well in that car. Now, I think I want to go Grosjean. The reason being is because everybody knows how bad Lotus are. The whole asymmetrical car, how late the car was launched, in how badly they looked in Bahrain when they didn't test in Jerez either. And if you look at the other side of the garage, Maldonado's had such a poor season. He's got less points than Bianchi, and that speaks volumes. That does. The way he's been really trying hard to outperform and do well in his car, and he's actually got to the Q3. I think he got 5th place. I can't remember what race it was, but he got Q3 this season. 5th place he started, so he did really well to put his car on. He's been really trying hard, and I think he's really matured as a driver compared to a couple of seasons ago when everyone was saying, oh look, he's the kind of guy that crashes people out. But he's definitely, I think, matured and developed and got faster as a driver, and definitely taking responsibility on the team.
Yep, great. Ron?
Well, you know me, you know which driver I'm picking. Nico Rosberg.
How surprising.
Well, yeah, Nico Rosberg has proven he's been a great driver and been able to hold the car together and prove that he's a world championship contender. And I think that's mainly down to him minimizing mistakes. And people wouldn't even see Nico in this position 3 seasons ago, where he was like in an upper midfield car against Michael Schumacher, who people claimed was like past his prime, and like, of course Nico was going to beat him. And Nico's proven that no matter who he's put up against, he has at least a 50% shot of winning the race.
Definitely. Given the win ratio so far, that's definitely one to keep an eye on and stand out for. Okay. Feel free to send your suggestions as well if anyone else has got any thoughts on that, for any standout drivers that stood out to you or anything like that.
No one said Bottas.
Hey, who turned you into Owen Quemby anyway?
Oh, good. I think we'll be heard.
Islands boy. Right.
I also...
in the chat as well. I nearly choked on my takeaway. Oh, good.
I believe. I think Bianchi deserves an honourable mention as well as one of the standout.
Yeah. I think Chilton also deserves one. Driving gods.
Chilton's the only god there.
Hey man, nobody dares question the might and legacy of Lord Maximilian Chilton, the Viscount. Sorry, don't ever criticise him.
Yep.
Also, I don't know, but I don't know where they pulled Eric. I don't know what hole they dug Marcus Ericsson from, but I think he's rubbish. I really do. I think he's no good. I'm serious. I think he's really bad. The dude's got nothing.
I like his hair.
They
I like his like skin and hair. Like he looks like he came out of a video game.
came out of Final Fantasy.
Of all the observations you would make, I think it's the hair. He's got that video game hairstyle. I like that.
This is great banter. I love this.
I mean, this is a guy that finished 6th in GP2 after several years.
Yeah. He was 6th in the championship last year.
Yeah,
Once
real
again.
new starlet.
Yep. Once again, Conor Daly goes unemployed. Well, in terms of Formula 1 seats anyway. As you do. Let's have a look here. Matt in the chat. Say, Matt, hi. Good to see you. Miles Peller says, Alonso's his standout. Well, it's another standard Alonso year, getting the best out of a donkey of a car. Speaking of Monza, let's go for F1 Beast 2012's question here. When it comes to the Italians, it says, what do you make of the rumours of Monza possibly being dropped from the calendar? So, we all know Bernie's been talking recently. I don't know if it's just Bernie being Bernie, but he has hinted at the possibility of Monza being dropped from the calendar. What do you guys make of it? Any jokers? Is that a joker from you, King?
Yes, that's a joker for me. I think this is the first time the joker has not been used on the last question.
Yeah, like, normally it's right at the end. Like, people leave it right till the end. I think this is the earliest we've seen the Joker played in the history of this show. I'm excited. This is like watching Deal or No Deal and someone's pulled out of the third offer. Okay. Well, you know what? Since you're so confident, King, go for it.
Like, Bernie threatening to take races off the calendar is his usual negotiating tactic. It's nothing new from Bernie. It's usually to get something out of the race promoter, usually to raise the sanction fee to host the race or get improvements. Here, Monza secured the place on the calendar for the future by saying that they would have multi-million-dollar facility improvements. And Bernie even pulled this like a year ago with Canada, and Canada said, "Yeah, we're going to invest, and that's how they keep their place in the calendar." I mean, Bernie will do whatever it takes to make sure he gets the most out of each promoter. He doesn't like, and it puts the pressure. It puts the pressure on the promoter because it's literally down to them whether their race is on the calendar or not, because the fans are going to be kicking down the door saying, "Why is Canada or Monza going to be off the calendar?"
Yep, to avoid the possibility of fan backlash. So 6 points on the Joker for a total of 12, doubled up at the end of that. Okay, Ryan is going next. Yep, he's gone for the American again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ryan completely. It's a Bernie move, and it's, I think, in my opinion, a poor Bernie move, because he's used that card before. He's used that more than once, and I'm sure Monza knows exactly what Bernie is trying to do, but it's Monza. It's not India, it's not. I don't know. You could put it up there with Korea. It is Monza, and I think that, especially with Ferrari having a presence in Italy, there is absolutely no chance of them losing the Grand Prix there anytime soon.
I'd just like to add to this, like, this may be before Athlete's time, but people said the same thing about France. How, France could never be taken off the calendar, and then Bernie did it.
Okay. So, yeah, that was well before my time. So, I don't know if there was similar rhetoric before France was removed, but I don't see it happening.
And there was the year that Belgium wasn't on the calendar, and then there was the year that Canada wasn't on the calendar.
Yep.
I don't really like Monza, so I would have no problem with him following through on the thread.
Belgium was being remodified.
The important thing to know is these are probably the crap years, so no one cares.
You know what? I like that the Americans are taking part in civil war here. As there's going on here. I love it.
White versus black. Great.
I will say.
Oh dear.
I think Belgium wasn't on the calendar for that year because it was being modified. That's when the bus stop got modified. The bus stop chicane, when it got changed from left to right to left, what it is now. In 05 or 06. In between the years.
Yeah, because they had to renovate the paddock area.
Yeah.
And there you have it, folks.
I just think the conclusion is we're not going to lose Monza no matter what, is what I'm guessing. No matter what.
Yeah, cool. Aarav?
Yeah, pretty much the same as those two. I mean, it's all really the same points. Interesting thing to note was apparently all the amount of Italian fans has dropped this year in Formula One, and the UK has surprisingly slightly increased, as has Germany. I think Germany kind of stayed put. So
the Hamilton network. What do you expect?
Oh yeah, and also the Mercedes kind of power. Yeah, so the amount of Italian fans watching has dropped, obviously, because their beloved Ferrari is not doing very well. So I guess the organisers will, be just clawing at straws to kind of find a way to improve that and stay in Formula One long enough that they can see all those fans back and generate, maybe the bigger revenue they were back when Ferrari was so successful. So I think in terms of doing what Bernie wants, I think they'll still do it. It's not a nice move from Bernie. I personally don't like the way he's done that, especially agreeing with Athlete, because it's Monza. It's a bit low that he's done that with Monza. But Monza will do it because they want to stay in Formula One, and they want to, be able to be there when Ferrari do eventually come back. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not saying anything about them in the future, but they've got to try. But yeah, also agreeing with Athlete again, it's a bit weird. I would never actually imagine a place like Monza going. It's just like, it's like Silverstone or Spa. It's like one of those ones, it's like, what? You're even considering taking that off?
Yeah. And Tom?
Yeah, well, like everyone said, it's a really dirty move, you could say, especially for a classic track like Monza that's been there for God knows, like nearly a century, you could say. And I wouldn't be surprised, say if Monza didn't modify their track and got it to the standards that Ecclestone wants, I wouldn't be surprised in dropping it though, because it's happened before with, like Ryan said, with Magny-Cours, and it also happened with Austria until it came back this year, because Austria was actually raced since like the 60s or 70s until 2003 when it got dropped, and it was a really popular venue. So he's done it before, but obviously, say we also do it, I think that there are good alternatives out there for Bernie to go to. For example, I always thought it's great if F1 could ever go back to Imola, because Imola is the classic track where I think it's just one of the best tracks in the history of F1, where it's had its ups and downs, especially the Tifosi, they're always mad there. Or even, I think you tweeted this like a while ago, Mugello would also be a really good option for F1, because I think that's a brilliant track in my opinion, and obviously you see in MotoGP what they do, so I think it'd be a really good idea if they could go there. But yeah, definitely, I think it's not nice what Bernie's done there with Monza. It's a really bad threat, you could say, so not nice.
Okie doke, alright. Any more reports in the chat? Oh, a lot of questions here. Mad Racer 1000, I know you might know him as Master Swift on Twitter because he trolls and follows everybody he does. Chilton, shout out, my life is complete. Also, Said, my world's favourite Felipe Massa fan, goes, give penalty points to the people who said how Massa was overrated last time. Wasn't it you that said that, King?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh, I also agree. I don't think he's got it now.
Oh, it's getting bitchy in here.
I'm sorry, but you know.
I'll let that one slide. I think that was quite funny. Also, great comment from the Savage Trout. Hi, Hamilton has been the standout. He's the only person I have heard about watching Sky. Well played, Trout. Well played. Also, I want to say thanks to all 38 of you in the chat watching right now. I mean, I think that's the highest we've ever had for an Around the Corner, so thanks, guys. Looks like the Athlete pool has dropped some people in here, which is great. Stick around, would you? I don't bite or anything. Also, Strickland saying standout driver Marcus Ericsson. Well, I guess that's one way of looking at it. Okay, we'll go with the Savage Trout's question next. I like it, it's quite funny. Question, what do you guys think about the new rules brought in for 2015? In brackets, I'm now waiting for Aarav to explode. Which makes sense if you see him on Twitter and you see his reaction to all this. It is rather explosive. So, new rule talk, obviously including things like 4 power units for next year, standing restarts coming in for next year, more suppression on technical regulations and development and all that good stuff. So, what do you make of the rule changes for 2015? I will let... You know what? We mentioned him. Let's let Aarav go first. Brace yourself,
okay.
Folks.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm a bit iffy on the whole what everything's going to be happening next year. I think from a kind of actual regulation on the car standpoint, it's all very good in terms of they're trying to get rid of the ugly noses. So essentially now they're reducing the kind of the amount of kind of variation you can have. So it'll pretty much be like a Ferrari style nose, which is one way or a bad way. I mean, I guess it's better than the penis noses. So
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So and like also Mercedes' nose will actually be illegal now because they can't make shorter noses in the like really shortened up noses. So that actually may change a few things because that's quite a big part of how the Mercedes car works very well because they've got a huge chunk of air going underneath the car. So they may reduce in performance because of that. So pray.
Pray.
And in terms of like racing and also testing kind of stuff, the amount of aerodynamic testing has been reduced, the amount of wind tunnel use has been reduced, and I guess for me personally, wanting to eventually try and get into the whole sport in the aerodynamic side, it's a bit worrying to see them cut back every year on the amount of aerodynamic kind of testing. They're becoming more of an engine formula, which I guess in a way is sort of good for the future because obviously now we're all talking about economy and the road cars having to be better, having these engines be better, saving people money at the pump. So I guess it's kind of good. And in other ways, it's frustrating for people like me who really want to come into the sport and do aerodynamics. It's still going to be there, but it's just reducing the chances of you getting in if they're reducing stuff like that. And finally, standing restarts. Just what the F teams. Drivers don't want it. I mean, you're going to see Sergio Perez on 15-lap old tyres spinning out into the wall if he does a standing restart. So.
I like that one. All right. Let's go Ryan King next.
The regulations. Well, yeah, standing restarts. Really, really, guys. Like, okay, standing restarts. Yellow flag. but seriously, people blame the FIA for this, but the FIA didn't come up with this. The teams did. I don't know. The team's like, oh, forget about our drivers. We forget the process that it goes from proposal to actually being a regulation. That it starts off with the strategy group, which Bernie has 6 seats, the FIA has 6 seats, the teams have 6 seats, but it's only 6 teams have seats, and it's the big teams.
Mm-hmm. It is indeed. It's Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Williams,
and Red Bull, Ferrari, Williams, McLaren, and Mercedes. They have the 6 permanent seats, and like the highest ranked constructors team has a team known as
This is great banter. It really is.
What did Aarav do? He was going to get that one in there for an extra point.
And even when it gets approved by those guys, it has to get approved again by the F1 Commission, which has seats from all the teams. So none of the teams can say, no, we didn't want this. All the teams have seats, plus all the engine manufacturers, and some of the race promoters, and even Pirelli has a vote.
Yep. So
everyone is to blame for this.
It's our fault, everybody. It's our fault. The standing restarts are our fault, everybody. We're terrible F1 fans. Ryan King went for the political breakdown approach on that one and how awful it is that basically Mercedes decided to shoot themselves in the foot by proposing this own rule. Which is going to butcher them more than anyone else because they'll be the ones at the front when the safety car comes in. Unless it's Sergio Perez, of course.
Unless they're hoping everyone has an accident behind them as they restart.
Yeah! Because why the hell not? Tom?
Well, I mean, the standing restarts, I mean, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, seriously, the sport's bad enough. You want to try and kill it even more, then go for it. But the only reason I can think they came up with this idea is because they've got the 100-kilo fuel tank, and them having to go run safety car and then slow down onto the grid. And this may help to a bit of fuel, possibly. I don't know, but maybe one reason behind it. But I really just don't see the point in it. Yes, it may be more exciting, but at the end of the day, it's like starting a race again. It's kind of like doing a restart of a race kind of thing. So it's not really doing anything really for the general racing. And obviously, in terms of noses. I absolutely hate the noses nowadays. I can't believe they've got this bad. Like, literally, you got to just go back 5 years and you got some lovely noses there. And this year, and last year, as well, the step noses. You got penis noses, step noses, everything except for a normal nose. So when they finally implement that normal nose, I'll be very, very happy because it just looks horrible. It's not appealing and it just looks like some kind of weird device. I mean, look at Lotus's front nose. It looks like elephant tusks. I don't know. Like, it looks like something else. So obviously, it's good to see that they're doing some good things. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh God! Oh dear! But
So
last time Athleek here, it was the Jazzle references, and now we're talking about Aarav's done his double penetrator. Is there something you're not telling us, mate? Oh dear. Okie doke. Athleek, finally, you're up.
I'm going Joker.
Oh, hello, he's going Joker. All right.
And I'm gonna call Tom an anti-Semite for going after all the different noses. But but I'm gonna focus on that because I really didn't think people were complaining about the noses anymore, and I think I want to focus on change and how human nature reacts to change. Looking at all these different regulations, we have fairly summed it up here. Lower number of power units, less aerodynamic testing, less testing in general. Okay, first of all, at the beginning of this season, we thought that we would have 6 cars finishing a race, and we had a lot more than that. So I think that right there shows that the engineers in Formula One, if they're given a task, they're able to complete it. And I don't have any fear of those engineers falling short of their goal. So when it comes to that, less money being spent, good. It's more equality for the teams on the grid, and it's more of a challenge, which is better for the engineers. Okay, so when we get to other stuff, like the safety car restarts, everyone is against it, and when I was on the Finish Line podcast last time, I was also against it. But the more I've thought about it, the more I'm for it. And I think that stems from the start being the most exciting part of the race. And I think the only time that hasn't been true was the Bahrain Grand Prix when there was a safety car and Nico Rosberg was pulling up behind Lewis Hamilton towards the end. But if that had been a standing start, I think that would have been much more wide open. I don't really care whether the drivers don't think it's fair that whoever's in the lead could lose their position in a standing start. They're all starting from the same grid spot. I think it might cause problems when they have to figure out which grid spot they're going to, but overall it's going to be extremely exciting. I think the safety risk is minimal, especially because they are changing the noses. So, those are going to be even safer as is. But I'm not really too concerned, and I think the engineers will figure out a way that the clutch will work for multiple standing starts. So, honestly, at the end of the day, when it comes to things like skid plates, standing restarts, all those sorts of things, Formula One fans and humans in general hate change, but we get used to it. Just think about the YouTube background that we're looking at right now. That was met with outrage when it was first launched. But in the end, I think we're gonna like it, and it won't ruin the sport. But I honestly think it will be for the better.
Wow, 8 points from the Joker for a total of 16. Nice. I think nailed that one. Oh, hang on, we have a challenge from Tom in the corner. What's up?
Not a challenge. I just want to point out. I don't think. I mean, the standing restarts ain't bad. I mean, it might be a bit more exciting, but it's the case of if it ain't broke, then don't fix it, kind of thing. There could be other things that they could think of improving the sport instead of having to do something like standing restarts, which no one really suggested or the sport didn't really need, so to speak.
I'm just trying to think of what that would be because no one else is coming up with other answers.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing that they're doing the nose thing, but obviously there's still people out there who think, the V6 should be louder, or they should do something about them, or people think maybe take more air off the cars. I know Grundle wants that. I mean, Mike Grundle always says they got to take more air off these things. He always says it all the time, so I don't know, maybe you could do other things there.
Yeah, okay, interesting points. The interesting counterpoint. The whole if it ain't broke, don't fix it idea. The only issue I have with the whole standing restart thing personally is because it's effectively the same as a red flag, but only difference is now a red flag means you can change your tyres. Well, which was a rule that was brought in. Remember, I think it was Monaco 2011 when Vettel was getting gunned down by Alonso and Button, but then the red flag came out. They were out to change tyres. The race was dead after that, pretty much, because everyone was on fresh rubber again. So it's one of those things. I mean, yeah, for real. Athlete made some great points there about change. Did everybody answer that one, by the way? Did everybody answer that one? I think yeah, I did, because I think it was up last on that one. So yeah. Let's go to the chat real quick. Sean Smith going, Andy Townsend has more skill at commentating than the F1 Commission do at rule making. World Cup reference for the win. Hooray! Miles saying, I don't see the problem with Sky talking Hamilton up. Sky Deutschland probably do the same with Rosberg and Vettel last season. Well, I've seen many people make this point to me about, if the people that do it in other countries do it for their drivers, therefore it's okay if it happens here. That's not really meant to be the case, to be honest. If anything,
it's more intense over here.
Yeah, exactly. One, it's more intense over here. I've actually watched other countries' coverage. My German isn't that great, but they don't talk about... Hang on, Tom, what's up?
I will say, I've watched Spanish before, because only recently I've got Sky, but the Spanish are really bad as well. I'd probably say they're worse than Sky for Alonso. All they do is Alonso, they only interview Alonso and De La Rosa when he was in the sport, it's all related to Alonso. Every single race there's a piece about Alonso and the build-up.
Really?
And after the race, interview, it's all Alonso. That's all it
That's
is.
pretty much the same as. That's pretty much the same as.
Wait, but doesn't that boil down to there's only a handful of drivers on the grid who speak Spanish anyway?
Yeah, but you think maybe they can speak English, so they can interact with other people. I don't know, But my point is, they always do pre-race things about Alonso all the time. You don't have to do it in Spanish just to do that. You can have any language you can do. Kind of thing. So.
Yep.
That's an interesting.
Ryan, you watch NBC?
Go on, go.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you watch NBC Sports for the most part, right?
Yeah. For some of the races I watch NBC. I switch between both.
Okay. So what does NBC Sports do? Because they
right now they're on the Lewis bandwagon because Lewis has so many celebrity connections over here.
Okay.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Hooray for the popular one. Yeah, I mean, okay. People always ask me this one because I'm the guy that's actually trying to crack that industry of broadcasting and journalism and what I think of it. If I had to throw my hat in the ring here, I would have to say that I don't like how they constantly talk up Hamilton. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know he's the biggest star in the sport now that Alonso's star seems to be fading a little bit, and now Lewis is winning regularly. He's now with the best team that's on the field, so naturally, Mercedes are really good at marketing themselves. I mean, they've got a cap for every Grand Prix now when it comes to Hamilton. Like, you have our white and British flag one this race, and we have our grey one the race before, and we've got a green one before now, so they're marketing him really well, and Sky are totally on the wagon because it's the first time a British driver's really been in contention since
2008.
2010 maybe with Hamilton back then, I would say. So just because it's a nationalist thing doesn't mean it's okay. And for me as well, when I'm studying British journalism at university right now, and the first thing they tell you is that it's a law of journalism is to stay objective. It's to stay objective and try and be as impartial as possible. And they always talk about Hamilton. So, like, as a guy that's been taught...
It's because the shackles are off, Dre. It's because the shackles are off.
Of course.
The oppression is stopped.
He's been unleashed.
Yeah. Rupert Murdoch is trying to get as many people to tune in the Sky F1 as possible.
Yeah, but things people don't realise a lot of the time is that Sky's aim is not to be objective. Sky's aim is to get as many eyes watching the product as possible. And Hamilton right now is the most relevant guy in the field because he's winning semi-regularly with the best team, and he's got a very, very good chance of winning a championship this year. Ish. So, you know, just because I don't agree with it personally, but I understand why it happens. Not that I have to like it or anything. Next week tomorrow on Sky F1, we'll find out what Roscoe's favourite dog treat is or something. So who knows what happened on that one.
Actually, I believe we're also watching Kimi Räikkönen do lawnmower racing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That looked hilarious, by the way, on Sky.
Yeah, but according to Martin Brundle's commentary in the beginning of qualifying, Kimi looked better on the lawnmower than he did in the Ferrari.
Oh dear. That's vintage Martin Brundle, that is. Yeah.
And I think also in terms of this biasness in the media, I think they have shown before that they can be objective. I mean, BBC in its prime with DC, Jake Humphrey, Eddie Jordan, and like Ted Kravitz and Martin Brundle in their prime, they were very, very good. They were brilliant, and I wish they could get that pack of guys back together again because I thought they were pretty good, but obviously things change.
Point for Tom on that one. I do definitely miss BBC's coverage for sure, but that dream team got butchered very quickly. Brundle left off the first season and hopped to Sky, then Kravitz quickly followed suit, then Humphrey quit to do BT Sport and be a terrible footballing anchor. So, it's one of those things where, it's gone a bit crazy. Some great insight in the chat from you guys talking about the whole broadcasting thing for a minute. Tia McMarlock representing Australia, of course. In the Aussie build-up, it's all Ricardo talk with a bit of Vettel bashing.
Oh God!
Of course. Apparently, Alan Jones is on the Australian coverage, and apparently
I cannot imagine that. It's like, yeah, there's that prick, Vettel. There's that prick.
Aarav of the worst Australian impression I think I've ever heard. I don't know what that was, but it wasn't Australian.
I don't know what it was, really.
Also,
I apologize to any Australians, apart from Ben, for butchering your accent.
Yeah, Mad Racer 1000 going, let me tell you, RTL in Germany are nowhere near as biased as the British commentating. Lauder and Kai Abel working with them sort of that. Also, Frederick Elkstrom in the chat going, you know how many times K-Mag is mentioned in Danish coverage? The coverage is built up all around him. So yeah, great tidbits there, great little bits of information because obviously there's only.
I think it's very different when you only have one driver from the country driving. Because then obviously you're gonna be like, okay, this is our only guy who's the same nationality. Let's really get behind him. But when you've got in Germany, and if you look Germany v Britain where we've got multiple drivers on the grid. Then Germany does do it better for not being too biased because they do other segments and parts on Alonso and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. I think a great insight from the chat again as ever. Also, let's have a quick look in here. Oh, Benny is here. The guy that's hi Benny, good to see you. Let's have a look here. That was a great point from Aarav about whole solo driving. I mean, imagine if if Ryan King was watching NBC Sports and they were only covering Scott Speed, for example.
Oh yeah, back when F1 was literally on the Speed channel. That was the name of what it was called when Scott Speed was driving. Yeah, they were on the Speed back.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty crazy. Okay. Also, Mars won't comment. Also, BBC's old F1 team is like Southampton. That's a great reference. A great team bursting with talent that slowly gets butchered by other bigger teams. Okay. Let's go back to the chat real quick, see if we can find another question. We've got about 40 minutes to go here, so if you haven't already, try and get them in if you want. Apparently some Dutch commentators are very good according to Liverpool Button fans, so that's an interesting one as well.
Where's Shane McMahon?
That's what happened when Sky Sports F1 came along and the BBC people hopped onto the bandwagon.
Well,
It's
BBC was around before Sky was, but BBC sold half their rights to Sky, so...
Yeah, it's stank of money.
It's because they've got a really, great sense of, perspective, and they cherish BBC4, and all those massive viewers compared to the F1 viewers.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you got to save us from interesting documentary programs on BBC4, which about 5 people actually watch.
I mean, they're really going downhill. I mean, they're getting rid of BBC 3 as well, like making it online only.
Yeah.
Someone up there at BBC headquarters needs to get slapped in the face and get some perspective.
Yeah, how else can we see infinite reruns of Family Guy? Okay, let's look here real quick, scroll.
Talking about the whole BBC Sky thing, I don't know, if you watch Mine's Grid Walk from Austria, it was dead awkward when DC wanted to interview,
I saw that
as well. They both wanted to interview him and they were like, how you doing? And it's kind of like, yeah, I think it was a bit of an awkward moment in the sense, because two different...
You know what? It's funny. Like when they first split up, from what I remember, like they were trying so hard to avoid each other, and now Sky don't even care anymore.
Honestly, no country should have more than one broadcaster. It's a horrible move.
I agree. There shouldn't be a split. Why not just have the best possible team all come together and maybe Sky show a rerun or something like that? But no.
To be honest, if I was running Formula One management, I would have one broadcaster per language.
Wow, no, that would be interesting.
I mean, I was talking about this with Cal HD earlier, saying they should do an all-stars panel of the best, just the best commentators for F1. So, in the commentary box, you got Murray Walker and maybe Martin Brundle or something, and then you got, in the pit lane, you got Gary Anderson and Ted Kravitz and...
Yeah. All a possibility one day, I'm sure. Right, let's move on. Okay. Anton the Beast, to be fair, he's put this one in here twice, so I kind of ignore it. Hi, Anton. Got to get you back on here one day. In the meantime, his question was, what's your thoughts on McLaren, and do you think they will ever get back to the top? Yeah, obviously the recent comments about from Ron Dennis regarding Jenson Button's recent form say he needs to try harder, and McLaren in general seem to be in a bit of a bad funk again for the second consecutive season. So let's see what you guys think of that one. Ryan, who do I go first? Who's going first? Athleek again.
He really likes you.
Okay. I'm gonna think about this for a second. I'm gonna liken Ron Dennis to Steve Jobs returning to Apple in, I think, 1997, when Apple tanked and he came back and saved the day, and now we have the company where it is now. McLaren can only really go up from here. They're not going to become a backmarker, and they are just a midfield team right now. I don't think their current driver lineup is going to stay the way it is in the next 2 years at the very most. So you have new drivers coming. Whether or not that's Van Dorn, Button's definitely leaving. I don't know what's going to happen to Magnussen. I think you're going to bring in some new talent, maybe attract a top driver, but then you're also going to have Honda coming next season, which I think is going to be huge. Although I have heard a rumor that they're somewhat behind. I think that Honda is going to be better than Ferrari and Renault at
That's
the very
not
least. So, yeah, I think McLaren will definitely come back one day.
Okay. All right. Cool. Aarav, you're the resident Button fan in the house. So let's.
Yeah, I mean, they're just really. I just find it amazing that a team that was, probably had overall the best car in 2012 has now seemingly forgotten how to make a good car. And it seems like by going down this revolutionary route in 2013, they just completely forgot how to, make a good winning car. And I think the biggest mistake was maybe perhaps not going back to the 2012 car. I think if they went back to that car, and although the development was a bit more boxed in, if they still went back to that car, had that kind of actual good car kind of surroundings and mentality, then come this season when they had to redesign one to fit the engines, then they could have tweaked it enough where it was a bit more open for development, because that was the reason why they went down this revolutionary route. They thought 2012 was too constricted. But teams like Red Bull showed that 2013 was just as even innovative than 2012. In terms of driver lineup, I could see Button staying for next year, just so there's sort of familiarity with him and Honda together. But then after that, then I don't really see too much time on the cards, and I think he could be forced to retire, because I don't see him wanting to go to another midfield team. And I don't think a top winning team is going to take him. And in terms of Magnussen, I think they'll keep Magnussen. But yeah, they really just need to screw their head on, because McLaren's just like a lost boy really in a playground.
All right, Tom.
Well, I kind of compare the McLaren situation like they're like a massive downfall and literally just going straight downhill. I compare it to the whole Braun Mercedes situation from 2009 to 2010. I remember when Schumacher said he's come back to the sport, and Mercedes bought Braun. It was all looking really good. And I was really hyped up for the season, and then boom, here comes the first race, and they midfield team, and I was so shocked, I couldn't believe it. I thought they'd be up there because they were the defending champions. So I can understand what McLaren fans are going through at this kind of stage, and it's almost like a massive shock to the system in terms of McLaren, because they've always been right up there since the mid '90s. After Senna left, I think they had a bit of a funny spell, but the problem with McLaren, I can't really tell where it's happened. I think it's just a general change in obviously Hamilton leaving, and obviously might have had a big influence on the team, and then having to maybe get an emergency buy in Sergio Perez, and then a bit Marshall leaving this season. I think it's a bit all over the place, a bit scrambled, and I think they just need to maybe stick with what they've got for a couple of years, try and stabilise themselves, and like I've said with Honda, maybe they can get somewhere, never know, maybe Button and Honda from past connections can maybe help each other out and do something, And obviously Ron Dennis as well, the history he's got with Honda is largely significant, back to the Senna days. So I think McLaren's a bit of a mystery at the minute. Where they're going to go and what's going to happen remains to be seen, I think.
All right, and Ron.
Yeah, honestly, I see the decline of McLaren basically a perfect storm caused by the emergence of Mercedes. The fact is, when Mercedes became a true factory outfit, McLaren wasn't the factory team for the Mercedes engine program. And then you add that on top of the fact Lewis Hamilton, their big name driver, leaving, so they kind of lost their marketability, and then this season they don't even have a title sponsor for this year.
Indeed, yeah.
And then Ron Dennis is claiming that they're being funded by Honda this season, which is no proof of. So they don't really have the money to develop this year's car to even catch up. So it looks like they're just going to be in a hole until Honda comes in, and maybe they won't be in the midfield anymore. It just depends on where they're going to be within the top teams. I see Jenson Button retiring either after this season or the next season. I don't know who they're going to replace with him, but it looks like Stoffel Van Dorn seems like the safe choice for McLaren.
All right. Okay, some interesting points there across the board. Yeah, I mean, people are asking me again this one as well. McLaren, they're very midfieldish right now. I think the team's in a bit of a transition phase. Something else, all right, Tom? What's up, Tom?
I will say, I think taking Van Dorn may be a bit of a risk though, because they've already got Magnussen. I mean, next year he will no longer be a rookie, but he'll only have 1 year on his belt, and then Van Dorn is going to come in. He's going to be brand new. I think you never know. The Alonso thing might happen. Who knows? that could be a possibility. Because Alonso, I think this will be his last year with Ferrari. I can't see him staying for much longer.
You really think Alonso would go to Ferrari, or Alonso would go to McLaren?
I think he could. I don't see why not.
I just see the Ron Dennis Alonso 2007 bad blood not being over yet. You know, I think if Ron wasn't there in charge, I think Alonso going would make a lot more sense. But I don't think Ron's really forgiven Alonso for the kind of blackmailing he pulled.
To me, it feels like Lewis Hamilton would be more likely than Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, because Lewis Hamilton's Ron Dennis's golden child. You know, if you think he'd be inviting him around for Christmas dinner and lunch with the wife or something like that, because they've been so close over the years that, you know, he is a golden boy that was groomed and raised from the age of 10, and Ron Dennis's nipple or something like that, pretty much. Breastfed till he got to Formula 1 when he was 22 years old, and all that stuff. You know, for me, the whole Alonso thing, Eddie Jordan hinted at this a lot as well, basically, where he reckoned Eddie Jordan started to stir the pot a little bit by pretty much saying that Hamilton and Alonso could swap places, which I thought was complete nonsense.
I did hear today, I did watch a bit, I was watching the stream qualifying. I had to watch BBC because I couldn't watch sports. And normally Eddie's pretty good with his predictions, and he did say he thinks Alonso will leave at the end of the season, so yeah, I have to see. But the reason I think Alonso might go to McLaren is because, you know, different times, you know, when Alonso did that, he was a double world champion fresh off the bat, still a very young driver, and I think he's matured a lot from then, so, you know, there's other circumstances that come into play. McLaren are a very different team compared to when they were 7 years ago, so you got to, you know, it may not be worth a risk, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, again, great insight from the chat again. Miles Pardigo said, Ron Dennis effectively blamed Martin Whitmarsh for last season, but this season they've been even worse, which is, you know, kind of true.
One rumor I heard was, well, it was from, you know, Eric Boulier, their racing director, that he might try to get Romain Grosjean.
Yeah, like I know a friend of mine, Marcus, who tweets me a lot about certain F1 opinionated stuff. So hi, Marcus, if you're watching. He tweeted me pretty much saying the same thing, that the possibility of Grosjean hopping over due to obviously Boulier managing him. So yeah, that makes some sense. Yeah, maybe they give Button the heave ho rather than he retire. I guess. Possibilities are out there and whatnot. Yeah, just again, good stuff across the board though. Alonso going to McLaren? I don't think so. I mean, the general conception for a little while is that Ron Dennis is a bit of a nightmare to work with. I mean, it wouldn't be the first driver that's been exiled from that kind of McLaren system, like Alonso, Montoya, Ayrton Senna. You know, we could go on that one. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's happened before. I mean, I remember. Obviously, I wasn't born then, but like my dad's time before, there was a really big confusion. For example, when Schumacher went from Benetton to Ferrari in '96 for no reason, like a double world champion, and then he just goes to another team. Same thing that Alonso did. He's a double world champion with Renault, and then he just decides to hop over to McLaren. So who knows? Like,
yeah, the best champions. And like multiple champions always can sense when to hop ship and go to team to get those multiple championships, and that's what the multiple champions have done. They've sensed when it's right, and they just hop over to another team. And
yeah, because it wasn't just Schumacher going to Ferrari; it was him plus like half the Benetton staff.
Yeah, yeah. It's also not even drivers, just engineers knowing when to jump ship, and you know knowing when the ship's sailing. And I think Alonso also. He built the Ferrari team around him, like Schumacher did, and I think Alonso could go to McLaren and do the same thing because they're so poor. They'll be clutching at straws, and so Alonso could do the same thing he did to Ferrari and just be like, "Come on, all right, if you guys all work for me, we can get back up."
That's what I'm saying. I think McLaren. I think at the moment they're desperate. So I think if, for example. In football, like Luis Suarez hands in a transfer request. Yeah, okay, he's dangerous. He bites. You know, he can get banned, like miss half a season. I mean, who wouldn't take him? He's a brilliant player. Same kind of thing. I personally think.
Yeah, sure. The whole Suarez argument there, yeah, could be a liability, but team's willing to pay 60 million for him. So how bad is he really? You know. Okay, let's go back to the chat real quick. Says I think Grosjean will stay now, though, because Lotus have Merck's power. Again, that's another good point. But Lotus getting Mercedes power officially confirmed today for next season. So another team on Mercedes power, which is great news if you're in the Renault camp right now.
I thought it was just a rumor. I didn't know it got confirmed.
It got confirmed today. Yeah, basically that Lotus will have Mercedes power from next year, which is bad news if you're Helmut Marko. Also, I've got to give a shout out to Nino, 2-time winner, who's in the chat watching as well, saying, "Hello guys, why are Ferrari so bad? England may just end up winning a football match against them." We're that terrible now, are we? Really? Yeah. It makes sense because Nino is Colombian after all, and they had a very hearty World Cup campaign. Sadly, knocked out last night in the quarterfinals. Bad luck, Nino.
They took Neymar with them. They took
Yep.
Neymar with them.
I thought he was faking when I first watched that. I thought he was just trying to like drag out time.
Well, it gives you know, I think the first time I'll probably support Germany. It gives Germany a good chance to beat them in the semis. Finally get that. Finally get that host knockout upset I've been wanting since this start.
No, not the hosts. Yeah, apparently the thing was in Brazil was that basically when the news had gotten out that Neymar had fractured his vertebra, like apparently they stopped partying altogether completely. Like the play was just completely dead afterwards. Like they knew what was happening as the news filtered around that their star player was gone.
I was talking about this last night in the Skype call. I mean, I don't really like Scolari. He's so stubborn, so thick in terms of team selection. When you play with Fred, you're playing with 10 men. It's that. It's literally Brazil playing with 10 men with Fred. Like, obviously now you can't because Neymar's got injured, but I was suggesting like put Neymar up front in the centre forward maybe, then put Oscar in the number 10, and then put like Willian on the left or something, and Hulk on the right. But
well, Scolari is a stubborn old mule in the sense of he's had so much faith in Fred, who was did he even play last night, Fred? I don't think he had a touch of the ball the second half. That was ridiculous.
Fred's not a footballer. He's just some random local they got off the street.
Yeah, I heard that. He's just some random guy they pulled off the street. Like, oh,
in a jersey.
Brazil's so good. They only play with 10 guys.
Look, you know things are wrong when his last name should be a first name. All right.
Okay, I know Brazilians have really long birth names, but of all the names you could have chosen to shorten it to, Fred.
How dare you make fun of Ricky Bobby?
Watch me.
I just think a streaker went into the locker rooms and knocked out the proper striker and put a shirt on and like put Fred on the back and just like some random guy.
Yep. Those guys that are watching the Netherlands game, by the way, thanks for sticking around. I know the fact we've actually got like 35 plus viewers in it, despite the fact there's a World Cup going on right now, is fantastic. I will keep you posted. I've got the TV on in the background here. It's still goalless after 37 minutes between the Dutch and the Costa Ricans. If there's any updates, I'm sure we'll let you know. So thanks for your patience and thanks for being so dedicated. We like you around here. But yeah, thanks for all that, guys. Let's have a look here. Also, Mark Player saying Fred is the Brazilian Danny Welbeck. I like that.
Nah. Welbeck touches the ball, so
let's go with Saeed's. Let's go with Saeed's question. I like this one. Okay, what do you make of Caterham being sold? So, as we know, sad times over in the Caterham branch of Formula One, as Tony Fernandez, after just a week ago saying the team was not for sale, decided to actually sell it. He's selling it off to a team of, I think it was Swiss and Arab investors involving, including Colin Coles and I think Christian Albers, who will be taking over as team principal. Yes, that's Christian Albers, the one made famous from F1 Championship Edition on the PS3. So, what do you make of Caterham being sold? Let's go with Ryan King first.
Well, yeah, from Tony's perspective, it seems like a good move because he's been having a lot of problems with his other businesses, and it hasn't been able to put teams into Caterham. I mean, put money into Caterham, and it'll be good to see Caterham with just where the investors are only involved in the team and not involved with like Premier League football, and maybe we could see Caterham be competitive a season or two from now. And look at this, and looking at the silver lining, it's better than Caterham just completely just shutting down.
Yeah, that'd be a whole heap of lost jobs, and obviously that'd be very sad. Aarav.
Yeah, they needed a change. They needed Alves talking about cost cutting and just changing the mentality. Was they were just chucking money and it just wasn't going anywhere. I think Fernandez got into a wrong mentality that he had to chuck all this money away, which was about, what was it? I heard a figure like 250 million or something like that, which is crazy. And they're just going to try and emulate Marussia's budget, which is very, very restrictive, and it's working for now. I mean, Marussia are doing better than Caterham at the moment, and they're not chucking as much money away as them. So I think it's a good thing for Caterham to kind of get that mindset kicked into them. But it's good to hear Alves say that he's going to be fighting to try and keep all these guys in jobs and make sure that their families are not affected, and to try and keep the Caterham kind of team in the same factory for at least a few years. So it's only good for all the guys who want to keep their jobs, and I guess for the team, yeah, it may be better. I mean, I still think they probably won't catch Marussia. I think Marussia are really on a nice up at the moment, but it's better than them leaving altogether. We don't want to see that many jobs in like a team that still works hard leave.
Of course. Yeah, Tom.
I'm not sure I'm gonna put my joke on. I'm thinking about it.
Gonna do it.
How many more
Look,
questions? Got to go?
there's 20 minutes. There's 20 minutes before the appeal round. I'm just giving you a heads up. There might be 2 more questions.
I'll keep it.
That means there'll be 1.
No.
Yeah, I reckon I'll hold it for a minute. So.
All right.
I normally I enjoy things like this with little teams. I find it interesting. So obviously Caterham, I think Tony Fernandez has got too many things going on at once, and I think he had to get rid of it. He's got he's got motorbike team, the Moto2 team. He's got QP obviously, and then he's got F1. So he's got to try and maybe stick to 1 or 2, not 3 though, because 3 is just too much. And I think Caterham just need something like a refresh. You could say press the refresh button, because it's like or the reset button even, because I think Caterham are what's left of a once Team Lotus that returned in 2010. I think they're kind of like the scraps and the things left on the side, because originally obviously Caterham were a Lotus, and then it all changed in 2012 when Renault at the time.
I'd like to say something. It was just a name change. It was Tony Fernandez started that team.
Oh, there.
You just got schooled.
Well, I don't exactly know, but I know the name changed.
Hurricane Ryan strikes again.
Okay, hang on a minute. Before Tom continues, point for Ryan for a successful challenge, penalty point for Tom for general incompetence. Carry on.
And obviously with the name change, I think a big part in Caterham's downfall was the driver change. I really think when they had Kovalainen and Trulli in the team, they had a really strong foundation. Even with Petrov in 2012, I thought Kovalainen and Petrov were really good. And then last year, with Van der Garde and Pick, they just went downhill when I just found that they had no performance. And I think really they were second best to Marussia all last season. And this season, once again, they just they just tried with 2 random drivers. Well, Kobayashi's not random, but you get what I mean. He was in Ferrari. They just threw him in there and see what happened, and nothing really materialised. And I think they've, like I said, been throwing money at it, and they've been really going to it blind, you could say, not really having any sense of direction or where to go. So I think a reset would be due in that team.
Athleek, I saw you shaking your head there and throwing your hands up during that. Why was that?
Thinking that Kovalainen deserves a seat at Caterham is preposterous. Thinking about his last 2 races for Lotus in Austin and Brazil last season, those were disasters.
Who did? That was awful.
And yeah, and really, I think that Tony Fernandez was thinking about bringing Hecky back, but then he saw those 2 results and said no. Although I don't have a source for that.
Bring back
in general, yeah, Caterham being sold. I'm glad Tony Fernandez got out. I think he was a little too overwhelmed. Hopefully, it means something good for Caterham. I don't think we're going to see anything positive happen this season, or maybe even next season. I'm not buying anything Christian is saying about helping those families. I think that's just a PR move because the problem I really don't think stems from the drivers. Of course, they're not the best, but really it's the fact that they don't have the talent in their staff to make a successful Formula One team. And I don't think those families or the people that are working there are going to be sticking around after this season. I think there's going to be a huge change and a big recruiting campaign if they're really serious about it. While I was listening to Sky F1 today, though, they talked about how the Swedish and Middle Eastern investors haven't been named, and there are a lot of rumors as to why that might be. I think it's a little sketchy. Someone threw out, Red Bull has a stake in it, or Bernie Ecclestone has a stake in it. I don't think that's the case, but perhaps there's some very controversial people, perhaps in the Middle East, that might be making these investments. So I would be very curious to find out why those investors want to remain anonymous. But yeah, I mean, hopefully at the end of the day it'll be good.
Yeah, sure. Let's go right in there. Who knows? It might be Quantum Motorsports all over again.
Yeah, and I also.
Go on.
Yeah, I also heard that Caterham was going to be entering a technical partnership with Red Bull and basically being a de facto Red Bull third team.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what other reason would there be? Why else would Red Bull hook themselves up with Caterham? Doesn't make any sense.
I did think it the other day. I was just like brainstorming a bit, like what would happen for Caterham, and I think Ryan and also you, Drew, will go this far back. But if Albers and Colin Coles, you never know. Maybe Spiker might come back. Who knows? Might go for the orange livery again.
I don't think so. Caterham are green, and the funny thing is that their Moto 2 bikes are actually red and white, which I thought was like, I thought it would be green when they first unveiled them. So
yeah, that's what I think. So they might be.
Who knows?
I think the green only stayed because they were originally Lotus in 2010. They kind of like stayed all the way through, but I think they could change. I don't see why not. So.
Yeah, get rid of the vomit. Just get rid of it.
I like Caterham's paint scheme, especially the one from last season.
Yeah,
exactly.
I like this one. It reminds me of the Jag from the early 2000s.
Yep.
Half time in the Netherlands Costa Rica game, where people aren't watching and are still watching in here. It's just they've just played up for half time. Still goalless in that one, so you're not missing anything much really over there, apart from more Robin diving, as you do. In the meantime, going to the chat. Coles and Albers in charge is destined for failure. They won't even beat the Americans next year. Well, Haas isn't in until 2016, so that's a penalty point for you there, Trout. I'm joking.
No, he's saying that they'll be so bad, the Americans will still do better.
They'll only be in the sport and they'll do better.
Yeah, I have no faith in Coles at all.
The Americans will definitely beat them next year because they're going to be sponsoring Ferrari, so they'll inadvertently do better.
Yeah, like you've seen the teams, Haas, and you chose. You know what? We're going to go with Ferrari.
That engine looks good. I
think it's Ferrari. I think it's the reason why I chose Ferrari because Ferrari offered the best deal. Because Matteo Mariachi used to be, president of Ferrari North America, and Ferrari North America is Ferrari's biggest market.
Yeah, so I've been told.
So it's a good place to stick drivers in.
If you look closely at this season, Ferrari haven't had one single engine reliability problem or like blow up. For example, we've even seen like Bottas at Monaco, or I think was it Hamilton that his engine went. Mm-hmm. We've seen Mercedes engines go a couple of times. We've seen Renault obviously go, but Ferrari yet to this day I haven't seen them like Marussia or Ferrari have their engine blow
up. There's a joke there somewhere about the Italians having electrical problems there for some reason and being their main issue over the course of the season. But yeah, I think that's right. I think Ferrari seem to have an engine failure per se.
Obviously, because Haas are a new team, they're obviously looking for reliability. So I guess that's the safest option in terms of keeping the car on track.
That's a fair point.
I think Dallara having a factory in Italy also had something to do with that as well.
That's a good point as well. Yeah. Also, Owen trying to call out Athleek, saying that was Swiss investors, not Swedish Athleek. I'll let that one slide. I mean, such a minor thing. I got them mixed up before in the past myself. So, Ramo, hello Ramo, good to see you. Hey, I don't think you remember me. Today I watched qualifying and I found it very odd that Williams and Ferrari were out from the first qualifying and Team Mauritia went on. Your thoughts on why? Okay, we'll go with that because everyone's talking about today's qualifying, which was pretty nuts in the first place as it is. So, what did you guys make of qualifying? Obviously, there's a lot to talk about on that one, so I'll let you go for it. It's 9:50. Just before I point that out, when it comes to Joker usage, because Aarav and Tom still haven't used theirs yet. There's only going to be 2 more questions. So it's either going to be now or the final question you say with Jokers for. Does any of you want to play it now?
Depends. Obviously, if I had a crystal ball and knew what the final question was, then I think that.
That's the gamble, my friend.
Yeah, I'll wait till the end, even though I think the last one probably worse than this one.
Both gentlemen deciding to wait. Okay, well, you make a qualifying then. Let's go Aarav first.
Well, Chilton and Bianchi are driving gods, so it's enough to say. Chilton, or Sir Maximilian Moneybags Snail Chilton of the North, just bossed it, and Bianchi also just completely took everyone by storm. But on a serious note, yeah, Ferrari really messed up with the strategy call. There wasn't too much to go wrong. Everyone just follow what everyone's doing. Everyone's going out on dries. Let's go out on dries. But Ferrari seemed to lag behind by a few minutes, and that was the crucial minute for the rain to fall, because I believe it was Alonso going down to the Luffield section, and the rain just started coming down out of nowhere, and he spun obviously, and Alonso saying it was a moment of either heroics or completely making a mistake, and they just made a mistake today. But I think things like that they need to cut out. Ferrari is a team that shouldn't be happening to, so they need to cut that out. Williams, pretty much the same thing as Ferrari. They just didn't really make the call, and you've got to be on the right tyre and the right conditions, and they were just a bit too late. So again, with Williams, that strategy team again that we saw in Austria, that was poor with the pit stops. Yet again here, they're just not making the right calls at the right time. They just need to be faster on it. But yeah, I truly think Marussia deserve to be there, because they've got 2 driving gods in their car. So say what you want.
It's either that or the strategists need a raise, a massive raise.
Yeah. Can Williams employ Mauritia strategists, please? That might actually get them a win now and again.
Anyone but Williams sport. Honestly.
Be quiet, you salty Massa fan.
Stupid.
God damn you. Right, now. Yeah, because my brother is the world's biggest Felipe Massa fan and is therefore salty as hell. Alright, calm down. Yeah, basically.
Go put those salt on some chips.
Yeah. Salt on those chips. Also, I know Sean's asking, Dre, are you in a nuclear bunker or something? What is up with your lights? Well, to be honest, my light fitting is currently broken. If I put a bulb in there, it blows. So, unfortunately, I have no light in my bedroom right now. I'm going to have to break out the torch.
Unfortunately, due to the green light, you look like you're about to get probed by aliens.
I have my sonic screwdriver available. We'll be fine. See?
I didn't know you turned 13. I like Doctor Who as well, but seriously, you got a screwdriver?
It was £5 at Toys R Us. Leave me alone. Alright? We will get through this. Okay, Tom.
Obviously, qualifying there was a case of throwing the dice and see if you get a 1 or a 6, I guess. So, in this case, I think Marussia really did well. They hang out there, they did what they had to do, just put laps in on the dry tyre, and that is really off-putting. They put laps in on the dry tyre, they got the strategy right, and obviously it paid dividends for them. And then I'm not that surprised about Williams getting it wrong. I'm more surprised about Ferrari. Ferrari have always been the masters of these kind of things, making making decisions on the bounce and make critical decisions. Like they've always done it right in the past, and I've rarely seen them do such a big mistake like they did today. And what this left them in dire straits for the race tomorrow, because I think Raikkonen he ain't gonna do much. Maybe Alonso can light up, but I don't see Raikkonen doing much. And as far as the Williams go, from a front row lockout to a stunt at the back. That's shocking in itself. So that remains to be seen. And then also in the top 10, Hamilton in 6th. Will he do the same as Austria? Will he like go for a super fast mega start and put himself like right behind Rosberg at the start? Will Vettel overtake like Rosberg like he did Hamilton at Canada and put himself in the lead? That will be interesting to see as well. So tomorrow's going to be a lottery and see what happens. You know, rain could be a factor, but I don't think there's rain expected. So depends. We'll have to see what happens. Very interesting.
Yep. Okie doke. King.
Yeah, I think it was just another in a long line of bad strategy calls at Williams. And I mean, Ferrari, I don't know what they were doing at Ferrari Mission Control, where they're like just sipping on their coffees, being like, "Up, rain in England like always." They'd be like, "What? It's not raining? Oh my god!" I don't know. Dry tires? Okay, dry tires. Yeah, I think they just fell asleep at Maranello behind the wheel of Mission Control. But we should see a really exciting race tomorrow with both the Williams and the Ferraris all the way in the back.
Yep. We want to see if they can make their way through the field. That'll definitely be one really interesting to see as well. Athleek.
Yeah, just to add on to what everyone is saying, I think it's going to be a fantastic race tomorrow. We've got Alonso coming through the field, Bottas, Massa. Who knows what's going to happen to Bianchi there? I think a couple people going off could result in him scoring a point. Ricardo and Lewis Hamilton will get to the front of the field as well. I really like that Lewis kind of accepted the blame and said it wasn't anyone's fault except his when Natalie Pinkham went to interview him. So it was nice to see him take some responsibility, and I guess that's 2 qualifying sessions in a row that he's really messed up. And I think this kind of goes to show whenever there's wet conditions, just go out and put down a lap time. I feel like a lot of teams have this philosophy that we're going to wait until the very last minute and we're going to be one of the last cars to cross the finish line at the end of qualifying. And maybe it looks cool to arrive fashionably late, but it can backfire, and I think a lot of teams saw that, especially Ferrari today. So I understand that tracks can warm up and more rubber gets laid down and things get faster, but I think in Q1, Q2, just go out there and put a lap in. And exactly. It was kind of embarrassing to see Ferrari do that, and I don't really understand how that happens. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind. It's going to make it an interesting race tomorrow.
Yep. I think that's everybody for that one, right? Yep. Okay. Final question for tonight's show before the appeal round. Let's have a look at the chat real quick. Yeah, Dre talking about the light. Owen, is Aarav going to paint the town pink after this show?
No. Just a quiet night in.
I'll have to wait and see on that one. Daniel Brennan saying Ferrari in 2016 is going to be crazy with Kimi retiring and Alonso losing patience. I think it could be Jules Bianchi and Sebastian Vettel.
I think Alonso will be gone by then.
I agreed. I don't think Alonso will be there for another 2 years. I really doubt that, personally. Man Racer 1000 saying Scolari is stubborn. Another news to Sky is blue. Hashtag anyone but Brazil.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like everyone's now hated Brazil now, but all of a sudden now feel sorry for Neymar. Like, it's weird.
I don't wish bad on any player in terms of injury, but it's good for Germany's chances.
After yesterday, he deserved to cry, not when he gets a silly little foul and he starts crying his eyeballs out in real life football, you know what I mean, playing for Barcelona. That's a proper foul when they break your vertebrae. You can cry over that, that's fair enough, but not over usual stuff he cries over about.
His hair getting ruined.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know, I've done mine blonde, so I can't say much.
Let's have a look on Twitter to go. Okay. We'll mention... Okay, yeah, this is a good one from Joshua Suttil. We'll go with him. You might know him as Smooth Racing on YouTube and on Twitter. So this is the final question. So Joker's automatically active for Aarav and Tom. And it's to do with the internet's favourite driver, Nico Hulkenberg, of course. Shut up.
It's actually Max Chilton.
Yeah, of course.
It is Max Chilton.
Of course.
No
Exactly.
dispute.
He knows.
I'm not even sarcastic.
Chilton, the Viscount of Surrey.
Yeah, it is. You all joke. We all talk about him the most on Twitter during races. Comedy or not, we talk about him.
Just go to r/Formula One.
Yep, exactly. Right. The question is, where would be a realistic team for Hulkenberg to go to next year, considering Force India, in brackets, might have a better car than Ferrari? So, the final question on tonight's show, what do you make of the future of Nico Hulkenberg? This old chestnut. As my TV screen goes green. Right, okie doke. Let's have... Yeah, Ryan, you go first. Again? What? You know what? I'm overruling you on this one. King, you're up first.
Okay.
Yes, I think for you.
Future of Nico Hulkenberg. I mean, he's proven to be way more consistent than Sergio Perez, scoring more points. He may have not have gotten the team's first podium, but he'll get a podium for the team eventually. And when I mean eventually, maybe next season, because honestly, I don't see a reason for Force. Maybe tomorrow. I don't see a reason for Force India to drop him. I don't see a reason for Force India to drop him, and I don't see any realistic place for him to go unless the only place is Ferrari. And Kimi says he's retiring next year, and then Alonso might leave by the end of this year. So it seems like he's going to stay put. If it's not there, it's going to be Ferrari.
Yep. Okie doke. Athleek.
Yeah, I really like Nico Hulkenberg. Of course, we're related, so I kind of have to be. But yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I was a big fan, I am a big fan of Nico Hulkenberg, is because I have this fear that he'll be the artist that dies and then everyone says was great. I think that's not going to be the case. I think his potential is going to be realized in a top-tier car somewhere in the next couple years. Whether that's at McLaren or Ferrari, I don't know. That could happen as soon as next season. I don't think that'll be the case, though. I think Nico Hulkenberg is happy at Force India, and I think Force India is happy with him. And I think Force India is getting better. I don't think it's just going to be that upper middle tier team forever. I think there is a legitimate shot of them actually becoming top tier, and he's at least going to be around long enough to find out. So yeah, the future is very bright for him. It'd almost be great if he just stayed in a middle tier team for his entire career and then got one shot at a top tier team and win the world championship. But yeah, I think he is a future WDC winner, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch and see how that unfolds.
Interesting. Aarav, Joker active. Bear that in mind.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't see Force India wanting to let Hulkenberg go. He's been doing brilliantly for them. Also, Sergio Perez has paid compliment to Hulkenberg, saying that he's the best teammate he's had, and he really pushes him. So Force India, in that regard, won't want to let him go. Hulkenberg, in terms of choices for next year, directly next year, I think the best place is to stay put in Force India, because he's not going to go to Red Bull. He's not going to go to Mercedes. And frankly, Force India are on par with Ferrari at the moment. And obviously, Raikkonen said he's going to leave after his contract. And Alonso, I don't think is going to go anywhere for at least next year. And McLaren, yeah, I don't think Hulkenberg will want to go to McLaren, because at the moment, the Force India is better than the McLaren car. But maybe in a year's time, if McLaren actually pull their socks up with Honda, then that might be a place for Hulkenberg to go. There's always been strong rumours at the beginning of this season that Hulkenberg and McLaren were linked. So maybe if McLaren actually pull their socks up and give Hulkenberg a car that he would actually want to drive, then he might go there. But yeah, I would agree with Athleek that he's definitely a future world champion. I just hope that he doesn't wait too long, or F1 doesn't give him the chance too late when he's maybe in those later years. And because as you get older, you get a bit less motivated, maybe, especially if you've been in a midfield team the whole time. If I were Hulkenberg and I'm 32 and I'm given a top seat, then it'd be a bit frustrating. So hopefully we see him in a top car soon, but I think most likely McLaren in 2 years' time.
Okie doke. 7 on the Joker for 14. Right, Tom.
Well, I reckon normally, I think if we go back to this time last year, everyone's saying, oh, you should go Ferrari. Ferrari, you know, would be such a great option for him and all that. But then if you look at Ferrari at the minute, would it, obviously with Kimi leaving at the end of next year, and then obviously I think Alonso will probably leave this year or next year also, there's definitely going to be a seat there if he wants one. Question is, will the performance be there, or is it just better for him to stay at Force India? Also, Aarav touched up on the point I was going to make. McLaren would be a good option in the sense, not next year, but when Honda have probably like established themselves back into the sport for 2016, and maybe Button starts to leave, then that would be very interesting to see how that would pan out, because maybe, you never know, might fancy his chances, McLaren might be good. So that remains to be seen. I personally see Nico Hulkenberg very much in the shoes of Jenson Button. So like being a midfield team most of his career, and then towards the end, I think he might get a good team like he did with Brawn or McLaren, maybe win a championship and quite a few races, and then eventually I think it will like die down slowly, even though he's a brilliant driver. But I think it'd be a very similar situation to JB in that one. And yeah, I'd definitely have to say Ferrari or McLaren, but I wouldn't say next year, I'd say 2016, because I think Force India will keep him for another year, I reckon.
Really like the Jenson Button comparison. That was a really good one, actually. He was of that BAR team for over 100 races before he actually won his first one.
Yeah.
With the BAR Honda team back then, I think it was Hungary one year.
He was at Williams, then Renault, then he was at BAR, and then he went to Brawn, and then McLaren for a couple of years, won some races, and then now he's a bit...
Went to Brawn, got extremely lucky and won a title.
Hey!
Right.
Oh, yeah, 7 on that one as well for 14 total. Right, appeal round, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks everybody in the chat for your questions, by the way. Great stuff as always. If you didn't get in, sorry about that. I did try to keep it to about an hour and a half of answering questions and things like that, so sorry. Hopefully next time. Okay, appeal round. So, your last chance to fire up whatever you like to me in an attempt to score some last points. It can be about anything you like. I'm not going to ask Ryan who wants to go first, because I know he's going to say. But he is my second.
You know what?
Because you're an idiot, and I know you.
You don't know me.
Shut up. Right. Does anyone volunteer to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, Aarav's going first. Alright, go for it, Aarav.
Alright, this is sort of to the viewers as well. You may notice that I'm wearing a pink shirt. You may notice Dre is wearing a pink t-shirt, which is actually the official one of this campaign. But tomorrow marks a very, very, hopefully, successful campaign that Jenson Button has opened up with McLaren, in partnership with McLaren, called Pink for Papa. So if you didn't know, John Button, Jenson Button's father, loved by a lot of the paddock, and pretty much went to every single race Jenson drove, apart from a handful. Always wore a pink shirt on Sunday. Always, without fail. And this campaign, he sadly died at the beginning of this year in January. Very sad for the whole paddock. And in tribute of him, this Pink for Papa campaign is started. So basically, Dre is wearing the official one, which is a... Yep, you can show that to the audience if you want. So essentially, it's a t-shirt. It's a t-shirt that looks like the pink shirt John Button wore, with his picture, and also a little a nice tribute on the back. And it's basically all the money that's been raised from this will go to the Henry Surtees Foundation, and they help young people with injuries. And it's all for a really good cause, and hopefully we'll be seeing tomorrow. Hopefully, if it's a dry race, we'll be seeing plenty of fans, not even Button fans. I've seen plenty of support from other people. I can name like X-Manny G, who doesn't support Button. He's more of a Hamilton fan, I think. And he's even gone out and bought one. I think even Game Right even thought he might go and get a pink shirt. So it's great to see, even neutrals, supporting this cause. It's a great cause. It's for charity, but also it's a nice, touching tribute for what's been a very tough year for Jenson Button, and the loss of a beloved guy who, even if he wasn't the father of Jenson Button, if he was just, someone well known in motorsport, the whole paddock loved him, and it's a great cause. So if you do have a pink shirt lying around, I do implore you to wear it for tomorrow's race, even if you're in a living room. Just a nice gesture towards John Button and also this charity. So yeah, that's be my appeal. Not much of a kind of a Formula One complete appeal, but just a little nice thing I wanted to get out there.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, Dre, you should be one of them t-shirt models, so like when you turn around and you go
I was like, yeah, me becoming the official shirt modeler of
while I was on the microphone saying like, so as you can see here we have the brand new t-shirt and then there's
yeah, it's got this thing on the back.
Yeah. I'm not quite Jessica Mishibar, while wearing this, hopefully I'm just as attractive.
I really hope this Pink for Papa thing just dies after the British Grand Prix.
Oh, of course, it was meant to be for this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I said I was gonna keep my comments about Pink for Papa off air, but I'll risk losing points in your book, Dre, by saying this. Yeah, I mean it's good that Henry Surtees Foundation is getting money from this, but just imagine if like every single F1 driver's dad died and we made such a big deal out of it. It would just be a mess. Just think, like Anthony Hamilton or Keke Rosberg. We would never hear the end of Lewis Hamilton. We still don't hear the end of Lewis Hamilton talking about how his dad remortgaged his house for his Formula 1 career. So, his father was well liked. I understand that, but yeah, I just kind of hope that it dies down and they kind of let Jensen kind of focus on racing and stop asking questions and
you
internalize the mourning.
No, to be fair, it's a very valid point, but I think it was specifically just for this British Grand Prix because it's at home, so it's only a one-off thing more than anything else. But yeah, it's a valid point. But yeah. I have no idea how to score that now. Like I said before, you've probably seen me wear this shirt before. I put it on Instagram, my Facebook page as well. If you haven't already, you can check out McLaren's official shop if you want to get one yourself. Highly recommended. As I said, it goes to the Henry Surtees Foundation, helping out victims of motorsport injuries, specifically with the head and brain, which is something which we can all relate to with Michael Schumacher's recent condition as well. So obviously keep fighting Michael as well while we're all here. And yeah, again, it's for a fantastic cause. So if you haven't already, go to McLaren shop. If you're going to the Grand Prix tomorrow, why not pick one up? It's 20 quid, can't hurt. Less than a week's wages for most people. Why not? It's for a great cause, it's for charity. Why not? Go for it. 10 points, Aarav, on that one. I'm just gonna give her a generic number on that one because I have no idea. Okay, who wants to go next? Oh,
I'll go next. I mean,
Hey.
no, I'm not actually too sure I'm going to talk about probably the World Cup. Before that, I mean, now you mention it. Obviously, for me, since the last round of the corner, it was announced that Michael Schumacher came out of a coma, that he's been for nearly 6 months, and he's definitely in a really difficult situation right now in his life. And personally, for me, him being my hero, my idol, and the guy I've always supported, I was like super pleased that he made it through it. From a very young age, I have that recollection in my head that I used to watch F1 with my dad when I was younger. That red car. That big red thing that used to pop up on screen all the time, that was so fast and so good. It's just in my brain. So obviously growing up watching that and his era of dominance and him return to F1 and all that, it's just parts of my life that I will never ever forget. And I'm so glad and so happy that he made it out of the coma and he's actually back with us now. And hopefully he can go on a really good recovery and hopefully attend some Grand Prix in the future, which would be very nice for him to see walking and down the back up once again. But now, on another note, I want to talk about World Cup, and this is interesting. This year's World Cup. I mean, you can look at it various ways. You can look at England and Spain going out in the group stage, and then you could look at USA getting to the last 16. Not saying it's a bad thing, but it's different. I'm saying
USA.
I believe that we will win.
Oh God.
And then someone like Costa Rica, who are actually playing right now, the biggest underdogs you could say in the tournament, who are currently playing against the Netherlands, which I believe is still 0-0. And someone like Netherlands beating Spain 5-1. I think this World Cup generally has had so many surprises, ups and downs. I think I was very sceptical about this World Cup due to the amount of injuries before it, because so many big names got injured, including Ribéry, Royce, and then other teams where like Lewandowski and Ibrahimovic can't play because they didn't qualify. So I think it actually hasn't disappointed. Just a shame that Fred's playing.
Okay. I don't want to penalise him for cheating because he kind of did 2 topics there, didn't he?
Exactly. What are you cheating for? It's basic rules here.
Yeah, you got to come up with the great transition from Schumacher to the German national team. Then you can plan from there.
I'm gonna seamlessly segue my way to the German national football team. No. In all seriousness, what do you reckon, Ray?
Well, I would give him 10, but he cheated.
7.
He cheated. I don't like cheaters. He does support Juventus.
Yeah. The Juventus fan is complaining about cheating. Right. But yeah. Shut up, Brian. Right. Oh dear. The Schumacher stuff. The Schumacher stuff rings home for me because Tom is in the exact same boat as me. Schumacher was one of my sporting heroes, still is one of my sporting heroes growing up, and he was the guy that I wouldn't be a fan today if it weren't for him. So I can definitely relate to that. The World Cup has been a blinder, I would say. It's been awesome. Full of drama, full of carnage, full of injuries, amazing goals, amazing drama, all that good stuff. I was going to go 12.
I will say, before I finish, to plead my innocence to your brother, I will say, I didn't intend to speak about Schumacher, but because I brought the John Button thing, and then you also, like,
that's reasonable.
And then also, I just like to point out, I've got this, me being a Chelsea fan, when Chelsea won the Champions League, the way Chelsea went all the way, it was kind of like magical and Drogba scoring the winner. I think the same thing's going to happen in Brazil in the World Cup for some reason, because if you look at Brazil, there's basically a curse. No European team has ever won the World Cup in a South American country.
Right.
So I've got this thing in the bottom of my stomach that Brazil are going to beat Germany, even though I badly want Germany to whoop them like 5-0.
Yeah, if Brazil go all the way, for me personally, I don't know about anyone else, it'll just be a bit too dodgy.
I think if they win it, it'll be the most undeserved World Cup winners that I can remember.
Brazil have played like 6 out of 10 football the whole tournament, and somehow they're in the semi-finals.
Yeah, it's a bit dodgy.
It seems like someone didn't want Brazil to burn to the ground if they lost.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I don't know, a crazy fact, like, the Brazilian economy has gone up by like £4 million every time Brazil's even scored a goal. Like, that's how much is hanging on that.
I think that's a matter of fact of them just hosting the tournament.
Oh, you know.
I mean, it replays for the.
But I don't think it's very right. I don't think it's very right to want Brazil to win the World Cup purely because if they lose it at some stage, like old terror might go out. That just ruins the actual World Cup itself.
Exactly.
I would love to see that happen. I feel terrible. The World Cup has to be like
Deutschland.
It's gonna be Germany and the Netherlands, and it's gonna be brutal. They hate each other.
I can't see it. I just think Brazil are going to go through. I've got this feeling.
Nope.
I've got the same feeling I had 2 years ago. They're going to go through. I know they are. As badly as I want Germany to win.
I want to see those smug faces wiped off and crying.
Yeah, I want to see Fred look rejected.
Yes.
Gentlemen.
Oh no, I mean, if you I think it was against Chile. I watched the game. They took Fred off after an hour, and then before the penalties, and in the break between the extra time, they seemed handing out water bottles, and he ain't even sweating. He's like, he could work for the staff, serving out water bottles and stuff.
All right, bonus point for that. 10 for the appeal. I got it down for. Yeah, shut up, Tom. Looking too much now.
This is all great banter.
Okay, so it's between the Americans.
Ryan, you go first.
Yeah, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go first and take the lead out on this one. Well, I'm gonna go first, but it's gonna harken back to yours, to the question we had earlier about the rule changes and how you said how us fans and most people are against change. And I would say these rule changes were made to prevent change. Like, one of the reasons why these rule changes were put into place is to make the racing more exciting and maybe boost the television numbers so the contracts are more valuable. Because the one thing that all the big teams are against is cost control. Because they're so accustomed to their standards of operations, they don't want to cut back on anything. They don't want to go from their lovely penthouse skyscrapers in the motorsport sky to some dinky shack on the corner. And, like, their lack of urgency on this issue is just kind of a little bit disgusting. Like, all the big teams right now, the three major teams, Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes, are all operating at budgets above 400 million euro. Do you want to know how much Audi's budget is in the World Endurance Championship? Anyone can take a guess. How?
Isn't it? It's 100.
Yeah, it's 100. It is a quarter of their budget, and everyone's like, no, this is a problem. We don't have a spending issue.
Ridiculous.
All the rule changes they have is to boost their income so they can sustain their standards of operation instead of cut back to be able to be sustainable in their current level of incomes. And one thing I heard, like, from a team principal that kind of illustrated the whole situation is from Christian Horner, who said, if you want cost cutting, we shouldn't be able to decide the rules. The FIA should just dictate the rules to us.
Yeah.
And I think for some issues the team shouldn't have a say. It should just be told to them what they have to run.
And this is why we should have Mr. Bernie Ryan King running the show.
Yeah, if you finished up, gang?
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm done here. I've just decimated everyone.
I just dropped the bomb. I dropped the bomb. I'm done. I'm out.
Drops Mike.
I took everyone to Union back.
Alright, everybody. Alright. Second judge in the house. Ryan, what do you make of that? He's thinking about this. He's mulling it over.
10.
10.
10.
Everyone gets a 10. You get a 10. You get a 10.
Everybody gets a 10!
It's like we're on Oprah all of a sudden. It's like, you get a 10. You get a 10. Everyone gets a 10. I'm agreed, to be honest. I think 10's about right. I think that's a very good point. The cost cutting thing is ridiculous. I've said this for a long time. Yeah, I mean, we're never going to get standardized cars in this sport because there's too much hanging on it, and it would lose too many jobs if there was standardized cars. But give other teams a chance. Like, you as a sport, you should be trying to encourage people to take part rather than putting them off because it's such a bad investment. Like, that's why MotoGP had the CRT rules brought in, so that teams could build bikes for cheaper and just have more bikes on the grid, etc. Tom, what is it now?
Yeah, no, exactly that. MotoGP, like, I heard Brundle, he'd like F1 to have 6 A teams and 6 B teams that the A teams supply to. So like MotoGP, Espargaro, Bradle, they're all up there mixing up with the big boys on a customer bike.
But for that to happen, Formula One would need more manufacturers. Right now we're only going to have 3. In the future we're going to have 4. So that's 4 A teams, 4 B teams. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Customer cars. Like customer cars would work very well because number one, the car still wouldn't be spec. You would just buy your car from a team and be able to put your own upgrades on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with all that. Like I said, you should be trying to encourage people to take part rather than put people off more than anything else. But yeah, Athleek, you're last to go. Go for it, sir.
Do I have to hit this one out of the park, or where am I sitting?
That would be telling, wouldn't it?
You're not allowed to.
Yeah, because you would just mail it in.
You haven't
Okay, well, I'm going to go out there on a limb. I guess I say controversial things. Maybe not the things that most people would like to hear, but I've been kind of coming off of a high from the World Cup and America's participation in it after they lost to Belgium. And a lot of people think, this is the turning point. This is going to lead to a great future in 2018 and 2022 for the American national team. And it was heartwarming to pay attention to the internet and see that people all over the world thought that, America getting out of the group stage and the group of death, was great, and they're happy for us, and they think that it will help the sport grow. I really don't think anything has changed as much as I would like to think it has. We got just as far in the 2010 World Cup until we lost to Ghana, and that was still an accomplishment there. But the infrastructure in America is not set up for a successful soccer or football economy. First off, the development of the players just isn't there. I think that soccer is a sport that is played when you're younger. I played it almost until high school, and I would have kept playing had I not disliked the coach. But I didn't have access to a football team at my school. I think that's the big thing. Basketball and football, American football, are much more popular, and until that culture changes, until they realize that they're going to be able to last much longer playing soccer, then going to see a difference there. And then on top of that, the college soccer that is here in America just isn't suitable for developing players. They're not playing year-round, and you can sub whenever you want to, and so it doesn't lead to 90-minute fitness. So I think we're going to have those problems there. I don't see the MLS really getting much better. I don't think there are enough teams spread out all over the country. I was looking for the closest team, and there is a team that's probably 2 hours away, but it's not in the MLS. It's something lower than that. So yeah, all around, we need to have a lot more money coming to the MLS, and then them buying players in their prime, not Kaka after he's on his way out. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see America embrace football, but I don't think it's going to happen.
That's why Beckham's bought a team or something like that, didn't he? Like, he bought a team trying to promote over there a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback on what he said, the reason why soccer as a participant sport won't work in America, because in most of the countries, development of players is to the clubs, while here in America it's tied to academic institutions.
Yes.
And
Academic.
Academic in air quotes, but it's the thing is that as a spectator sport, it's going to explode here with big name players coming over. But the thing is, people are going to watch. It's not going to be as high quality. Like Jurgen Klinsmann does not like U.S. national team players playing in the MLS. He'll bench people because they came over here.
Exactly, and nice amateur going on there, Aarav. He's bored.
Controversy everywhere.
I think if more USA players played in Europe and in more competitive leagues, it would definitely make the national team stronger, and then maybe promote more people in their country. That's why people like Villa, Lampard, and then obviously Beckham buying the team there and all that. It's like
the problem is that America are buying players that are past their prime.
Yeah, I mean, America would be a much better footballing nation if international soccer was a bigger aspect of the men's side of the sport. Like on the women's side of the sport,
it's huge.
The international game is almost the only game. That's why the women's team is so amazing for us.
Oh yeah, man! I would do unspeakable things with Hope Solo. But
then she would beat you up.
Then she would beat you up.
Or eat you.
But yeah, it's like I said. All jokes aside, absolutely true. I said on Twitter after the Belgium game, I was watching it at my friend's shisha bar, and I said on Twitter, look, America, you can be very proud of that. That was a very strong last 16 performance, given the group they were in with some very strong national teams like Ghana, who knocked them out 4 years ago. Germany, one of the favourites, world number 2, I think, at the moment, and obviously Portugal, who have the second best player in the world in Ronaldo, arguably. But yeah, like to get out of that group, and then they gave it a great effort for 150 odd minutes, 120 minutes against the Belgians, who have got a very strong team in themselves. But yeah, I hope it increases popularity back home in America, because they have a better team than we do right now, and they're higher in the FIFA rankings. They're the 11th best team in the world now, America. So they're right up there. Or otherwise, just because we English really do suck. I'm not sure which one it is really. But Ryan, what do you make of that appeal? 12.
And I get a 10, and I get a 10.
Ryan King is
It's
calling.
been coming all evening. I mean, he's been saying athlete for every single round. So he just obviously loves him or something.
Yeah. Ryan's clearly.
Oh,
favoritism! Favoritism. That's going to be a meme. Like that's going to be a meme on Twitter after the show. I can tell already.
It's all great.
To be honest, I hate to admit it, I kind of agree with Ryan in the sense of that probably was a 12. To be honest, because I did actually really like that one. Shut up, you. But yeah.
Hey, my lesson for the future: appeal round. Don't talk about motorsports.
Yeah, talk about NASCAR instead, like Ryan Littlemore did. That's a real good idea. For those that are watching the game, still goalless between the Dutch and Costa Rica with about 18 minutes to play plus stoppages. I'm going to tot up the scores right now. Have a quick look here.
Hopefully it's not another bloody game that goes to extra time. I want to kill myself if it is.
The amount of extra time we've had this World Cup is tiring.
I follow a guy called Jerome Quico, ex-Stonehenge, like a race with Gillon. And he said, this is the kind of match where Costa Rica scores in a 90th minute. Wait for it.
No thanks.
I think it will. It could happen. Imagine that. Costa Rica. Can you imagine that? Costa Rica in the semi-final.
No, I want to see Netherlands go through.
What?
This is the one time I don't want an upset.
Yeah, I want my boy RVP to lift the World Cup, man. So let's go.
Yeah.
25, 30.
On that note, I'm looking forward to this next season, Dre. I think it's going to be much more promising.
Oh, absolutely. A great start with Herrera and Luke Shaw already in.
Oh yeah. What do you think about? Do you think 30 million for Shaw is a bit much?
It's the modern era of BPL football. That's what happens now. It's just normal now.
Because of the homegrown talent rule when it comes to English football now, English players are automatically worth more by default because you actually have to have them in your squad now. So by default, English talent is more expensive. To me, I think 30 million is a small overpay, but nobody complained about Rio Ferdinand 12 years after we signed him for 30 million, ended up being a prolific player for us.
Yeah, exactly. If Luke Shaw stays with us for like 10 years, then we're going to make our money back.
Exactly, and Herrera was... We badly needed a central midfielder and Herrera. We badly. We haven't had a Paul Scholes replacement in like 5 years. So it's like, we needed a midfielder badly, and I'm so glad we got one.
Honestly, I think the homegrown players rule is just stupid.
It's ridiculous.
They should just put a tax on transfers for foreign players, and then give that money, and then give that money to lower league teams so they can actually develop better English players.
That is such a good idea, actually.
Yeah,
I think.
I was talking this with my dad, and I said the FA should set a rule where they have like a minimum of like 5 English players in the squad, minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So like, by default, they've got to have a certain amount of players, which then encourages the youth system to work.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm a Chelsea fan, and we're all about money. So the youth team, although they won the FA Cup and the Premier League in them 21s, and they're really good players, none of them really get a shot because all the money's involved. So I'd like to see some of the youth and English players actually come up through the system, which would be nice. But obviously, if football's a modern game now, and things change.
Oh boy. I've seen the scoreboard. It makes for interesting reading.
Did I finish last again?
I did.
I'd like to
I
direct
definitely
into the
finished
chat,
last.
the new Liverpool.
Hang on. There's going to be controversy over this one. I can tell already.
As long as
Does that mean Athleek's won? Because he brought the controversy this evening.
all of it. As long as the total points scored, as long as the total points scored by Americans is higher than Europeans, I'm okay with it.
You know what?
Oh, America.
You know what? Hang on. Let me just work that out real quick. Hang on. Okay. So the winner, first around the corner, Ryder Cup, is.
I want to see the before, like the handicap and non-handicap. scores as well.
It's Team America,
10
ladies
points.
and gentlemen. America wins.
USA, 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 USA.
I'm leaving.
I've never done a USA chant before.
Europe has abandoned
That
the
was the
cause.
time.
Okay, so combined, the score is 145 to 143, and you combined. If we put the two Americans and the two European scores together, it's 140 to 143. But what you guys don't know is how those points were split up. So, in joint third place, both of you scored 70. Very high scoring show this time around. In joint third, we have Ryan King with 70 and Aarav with 70.
Wow.
So, bad luck,
Yes,
fellas.
my man Ryan. Yes. Good.
That means we automatically know who won.
Wait,
Yeah.
it was 75. I scored.
Yeah, we know who won now.
Yeah, we know who won now.
Obviously, if Team USA won, and me and Ryan are on the same point.
You guys got to realise as well that Mr. Martinez spoke a lot on tonight's show.
Oh, his penalty point.
Done fucked up, Tom.
I never saw the.
Yeah, you need to get a better light in that room.
No,
so people
I
can see that.
challenged you, and I won.
He did
That was 1
indeed.
point. I was 1 point.
Yeah, it was a 1 point spread. It was a 2 point spread. I gained a point. You lost a point.
Yep, exactly. The challenge cost the right.
The number 2 driver fucked us up. he mastered himself so Alonso could win it.
So I won the Ryder Cup.
Because I'm going to cut to the chase here.
Good job,
Because
Ryan.
you probably have already worked out who's won. But with 73 points, 74 on the 1 penalty point, Tom97HD there, Tom Martinez there in second place with 73. But the winner, and now 2-time around the corner winner, he's 2 for 2 on appearances. It's AthleekVG, ladies and gentlemen.
Back-to-back winning.
The
Of the
appeal.
around in the corner, just like my glorious country winning back-to-back World Wars.
Oh, God.
Beautiful
What?
day.
I'm still shocked. I've been on this show 4 times, only won once. He's been on here twice, won both times.
It's the same for Tom Stanley. He's been on here 3 times and he's won 2 of the 3. Woodward is like
It gets worse for me. I've done it. This is my 4th time I've 1-0. I've come second twice.
To be fair, it's the same as Elusive Kev. Elusive Kev's been on here 4 times and he's not won once either. Poor guy. He'll be on next week's show. But in the meantime, yes, Athlete, the appeal won it for you. The extra 2 points in the appeal got you the win. How does it feel, my man?
Feels amazing. Feels glorious.
Yep.
wanna
Whoa! Big header by the Dutch. Big
need to
save
get
by
this-
Costa Rica.
Okay, I thought someone was breaking into your house and you had to get a screwdriver.
Come on, there's a guy there.
But, yeah, Aarav, anything you want to plug real quick while you're on there, as winner of the show today? I think anything you want to plug real
Just
quick.
listen to Finish Line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
listen
listen to the. Yeah, I highly recommend that. Listen to the Finish Line podcast. It's on theformula.com with Ryan King and Athlete. They do a fantastic podcast. I've been on there, and Aaron's been on there as well. I am the senior British correspondent of the Finish Line podcast, so I'm very, very proud to have that title.
And if you're not going to listen to the podcast, at least do a Google image search for Dindles. You'll have a great time.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I might not do that as it goes.
Yeah, just if you want to understand that, just go watch listen to the last one, and Ryan goes ham on Durnal.
Yeah, that should be a.
But
fun
seriously, like, if you want to listen to an F1 podcast, there's no point like listening to the BBC or Sky F1 one. It's just a whole lot of dribble. If you want a proper actual analysis and actual opinionated discussion, go check them out. They're on iTunes as well for free, so go check that out.
And listen to us as well, because hey, nobody does panel podcast shows like we do on here. Again, another fantastic show. Thanks to everyone in the chat. It's still over 30 of you here, despite the fact it's now 20-11 here in the United Kingdom. So thank you all so much for that. I will get you off nice and early so you guys can enjoy the rest of the Netherlands-Costa Rica game. It's going to quite a tense finish by the looks of it. Still goalless with 10 minutes to go in that one. But in the meantime, just want to say thanks to Tom Martinez as usual, Ryan King again, Aarav as usual, even though he came up half an hour late, the bastard. Thanks to him as well, and our two-time winner now, AthleekVG. So thanks to everyone on the show today. I've been Andre Harrison. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Great banter.